Welcome back, fight fans. We're back with some more UFC stuff. Opening up with, of course, UFC Vegas 64. That was last Saturday. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about the pay per view, UFC 281. Let's get right into it. UFC Vegas 64, opening up with the prelims, and that was Tamires Vidal, Ramona Pascual, and that was one of the early ones. There were a lot of early finishes. This was one of them. First round finish and in a debut by Vidal. Vidal throwing pretty hard and fast, lots of kicks, pushed Pascual into the fence. Pascual kind of landed a couple of good ones, maybe just one, and then Vidal started to really get ahead with that output. Then she landed a huge knee to the forehead of Pascual. Then threw another flying knee straight to the chest, which you don't normally see. And that's actually what ended the fight. It was a body shot flying knee TKO in the first round of her debut. Unreal. I mean, that ended up being KO of the night. In the very first fight of the night, we saw the best KO. Unbelievable. Second fight. This one was one that we talked about last time. It was Hadley and Candelario. I said last time, I kind of figured Hadley was gonna run away with it a little bit. He just seemed to be a lot faster and a little bigger too, and just better in general. So he kind of looked better everywhere, to be honest. And that's exactly what we saw, really. Hadley was faster, but both of them were landing some good shots early for the first couple minutes. It was a wild first couple minutes. Then, with it being pretty even on both sides, it was pretty close, but I gotta say, Hadley clearly appeared to be landing the heavier shots of the two, uh, which to me meant the first round on the cards for him. Second round, Candelario opened a lot harder, stumbled Hadley with a body kick, actually. Then Hadley came back harder with the striking, outpaced him, landed, outpacing him really the whole time and landing pretty big shots. Candelario took him down easily, but that was probably because Hadley was totally fine with being on the ground. He got himself stuck in there right away, getting elbowed from the bottom by Hadley. Lots of elbows. Stuck for quite a while. And then Hadley shifted over to a deeper submission and then just made Candelario tap. Couldn't get out of it. And that was it. Second round submission for Hadley. Definitely a lot of potential. There's a lot of really good things going on with Hadley, but he did get taken down pretty easily. And I mean, like I said, was that because he was really comfortable? Because he knew he was better than Candelario on the ground? I don't know. It could be because of that, or it just could be because kind of easy to take him down. Not quite sure. Because I mean, that's exactly where he struggled in his last fight too. And you're not going to be submitting people from the bottom like that, as you go up the rankings when you're fighting tougher people. So, and we already knew that Candelario was going to struggle on the ground. I said that too, and I mean, we saw that with Tatsuro Taira. That was his last fight, and it was a good fight. It was a close fight, but Taira dominated on the ground, and that's exactly what we saw here too. He had a problem on the ground with the submissions. Yeah, so I don't know. That was Candelario. Yeah, for Hadley, my goodness, he lost last fight with Anashimento, I believe, and that was from him getting taken down and just dominated, smothered on the ground, really. And because he couldn't submit him from the bottom, he ended up being stuck down there the whole time. So, he's definitely got to work on that takedown defense, or else it's going to be a problem when you're fighting the tougher people. That being said, he's obviously got all the skills he needs, on the feet especially, but not being taken down. You can't get taken down like that and just dominated on the ground like that. I mean, obviously, again, in this case, it's fine. He knew he was going to have the advantage. But when you go up the division, you can't do that anymore, especially at flyweight. We know how many good people there are in flyweight top 15, and he can't do that against those people. You can't do that against somebody like Pantoja, Perez, Moreno, anybody like that, anybody in the top 15, even Makayev. You can't do that. You can't do that. Or even Tyra again. If he ended up going against Tatsuro, you can't do that. You will get dominated. You will lose on the cards. You might even get submitted. But if you don't, you can't get any offense going if you're on your back the whole time. So that's kind of what he's got to work on to be a real contender someday. Then we saw Johnny Munoz Jr., Ludwig Scholinyan. Going into it, wasn't really sure how this one was going to go. I mean, I had Johnny Munoz Jr., and he was the favorite, but it's close because Scholinyan was on The Ultimate Fighter. He was looking pretty good. He's looked decent in all of his fights so far. Munoz kind of struggled in the last one, so wasn't really sure which way it was going to go, but had to give the benefit of the doubt to Munoz on this one. Oh, because I think what it was he ended up getting knocked out by Gravely in like 30 seconds or something like that. And yeah, so it was kind of like, well, that was more like, okay, he made one tiny mistake and got knocked out because Gravely's just that good. So to me, it was kind of like, okay, you had one bad freak performance in 30 seconds, like I said, should be okay if that doesn't happen again, that is. Which is why I ended up going with Munoz. Anyway, and that's clearly warranted because he did not get clipped this time and kind of dominated for the most part. Munoz a little more active and a little faster early, wobbled Scholinyan right away. As the round went on, though, Scholinyan was starting to land more, but he was actually walking into the strikes of Munoz. So, yeah, he was landing, but that was because he was walking forward. And then, of course, because he was walking forward, he was getting hit a lot, which wasn't really going well for him. Because then Scholinyan was actually starting to miss more and still walking forward, but walking directly into the counters of Munoz. So not really necessarily the right strategy there of moving forward constantly, was kind of backfiring on him there. Scholinyan got stumbled again at the end of the round there, which clearly gave the opening round to Munoz on that. Second round, Munoz dominated him early with the striking again. This time, not really moving forward much was Scholinyan. He was actually backing up quite a bit. Scholinyan then tried to switch it up with some grappling. Striking's not working. Let's go with some grappling. Not doing any damage, but he did hold him down there for a little bit. Munoz got out of it, though, did more damage on the feet from there, probably won the round back. It was close because of the takedown. But again, you're not doing any damage. And that's obviously the main focus. We've talked about this at length. We talk about this every single week because it's still a problem with the scoring. We still see this sometimes on the cards where the judges aren't necessarily picking that up in the criteria, which is the main criteria, damage. So yeah, you kind of had to give him the second round because of that too. After landing some more shots on the feet, the third round, Munoz went to the grappling this time, switch it up, interesting. Taking Scholinyan down. Didn't last all that long, though. Scholinyan clearly knew he was down on the cards, really turned up the pressure, still walking forward. And this is why I wasn't sure originally about picking Munoz. Not because of anything Munoz had done in his fights, but because I knew that Scholinyan is not the kind of guy that gives up and he gets better as the fight goes on. So whenever you see that, whenever you know it's probably going to be a decision, a little bit worrisome in there. And that's exactly what was happening here. It was like, uh-oh. But yeah, Yan really turned up the pressure, still walking forward. Definitely his best round was that last one, which is again what we saw coming here, what I saw coming here. Landing a bit more, but Munoz still dodging quite a bit of it. I mean, Yan really was hitting a lot of fresh air with these shots for the most part. And then Munoz ended up closing the round with another takedown. I could have been 29-28. I don't know how I would have scored that last one because it was Yan's best round. But then, of course, Munoz had the late takedown. It was also pretty even. So I'm not sure how I would have scored the last round, but it was still a pretty clear win for Munoz either way. And the judges ended up scoring at 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28. So one of them did have it going the other way, which is warranted. Like I said, it was pretty close. Nothing crazy there with the decision. Next one of my favorite ones of the night, Polyana Viana. Might honestly be my new favorite female fighter. She really might be. She is absolutely incredible. Beating Jinyu Frey by KO in the first round. I say it that way because she's a BJJ specialist. She is a submission specialist. She doesn't really, I mean, I'm not saying she didn't look good on the feet before. She actually looked really good on the feet before, but didn't really look like she was doing a whole lot of damage in the other fights. Clearly working very hard on the damage portion of the striking this time, because it ended as soon as it started, really. I mean, Frey was walking forward straight into her, and that probably was part of the problem. But Viana shut that down with the kicks, and that's what I knew. I knew she was good at the kicks. I did notice that. But that doesn't usually lead to KOs. If you're not good with your hands, you're probably not getting a KO, especially with the women. There's not really a whole lot of head kick KOs on the women's side. And that's really kind of the only way to get a KO with a kick. So then just as soon as she started to land Viana, it was all over. She landed, I think it was like 5 or 6 shots in a row, crisp, clean, straight to the jaw, the forehead, I think too, just all over the place. Didn't really miss anything, just clean shot, clean shot, clean shot. Perfectly landed that entire combo. Honestly unbelievable, especially against somebody who kind of everybody thought was going to have the stand-up advantage for a pretty good reason, really. Again, like I said, Viana being a submission specialist on the ground, not really usually going towards her striking, as opposed to Frey, who is more so a striker, especially. So yeah, definitely surprising. Very, very cool. Also, she's just a really cool person, so I'm definitely a huge fan now. That actually had a chance to be KO of the night. But again, I had to give it to, flying knee body shot TKO in a debut. I had to give that the win. But Viana was close, I got to say. After that, Mario Bautista, Benito Lopez, who is coming back after, I think it was 2 or 3 years we haven't seen him. So I had never seen him fight before. But I have seen Mario Bautista, and I knew exactly how good he was. So I kind of figured this was not going to be close. I figured this was going to be, if not an early finish, it was going to just be a dominant decision win, just because of the grappling of Bautista is unbelievable, really. So lots of kicks from both sides right away. Bautista was the one walking forward, landing pretty well, also countering pretty well. Then Bautista really started to pick him apart, landing heavier shots on Lopez. Kind of shredded him apart really the entire first round, then took him down really easily, dominated Lopez on the ground, eventually moved into some submissions, locked in a couple ones pretty deep, didn't get it right away, landed some ground and pound. Then, with a few seconds left in the round, almost snapped Lopez's arm, forcing him to tap. Incredible, incredible win. And I mean, I completely agree with what Bautista said after. He said he's just really not on the same level. It's not really all that close. And I mean, again, saw that one coming. He really is not on the same level. And with that, I think it's more obvious now than ever. He should be fighting somebody in the top 15. Um, yeah, so I'm assuming that's what we're going to be seeing next from Mario Bautista. Very promising prospect, though. Then after that, it was another prelim that we talked about last time. It was the ladies, Miranda Maverick, Shauna Young. I mean, no real surprises, I would say, except for the fact that she didn't get a finish from Miranda Maverick. That was more surprising than anything, and I heard that online more than anything else. Was that, nobody was really surprised that Maverick dominated that fight, but it was actually pretty surprising that she didn't get a finish after all that. I mean, she was just dominating her the entire time. It was just absolute dominance on the ground. It was a little bit closer on the feet. It wasn't, I wouldn't say anybody really had the advantage on the feet, but yeah, those takedowns, I mean, she was close to locking in the submissions. I'm not even faulting Miranda Maverick on this one, because she did exactly what she was trying to do the whole time. She had the plan in place. She was going for the grappling, constantly going for the submissions, constantly. Just didn't quite get it because Young had clearly practiced those submission defenses specifically quite a bit. That's really all that happened there. And yeah, I mean, give her somebody in the top 15. I mean, I said I mean, yes, I said this last time, but also just in general, I mean, look at how she lost her spot in the top 15. It was because she lost to Macy Barber, which wasn't even a loss. I mean, she clearly won that fight, as everybody agrees. I mean, if you see that fight, it's literally not even close. And that's how she lost her spot in the top 15. Then she lost to Erin Blanchfield, who I'm going to be talking about later tonight with the pay-per-view this weekend, who honestly, I think she's probably pretty easily going to be one of the next title contenders within the next couple of years. I would be pretty surprised if she wasn't, to be honest. She's just that much better than most people, at least from what we've seen so far. So, I mean, maybe that gives you a preview of how I'm going to be leaning later today with her fight. But yeah, I mean, again, and that made sense. That loss made sense for Maverick. I mean, just because Blanchfield is just really that good. Uh, yeah, but other than that, I mean, she's looked pretty much unbeatable. So it's kind of like, why is Maverick not fighting somebody in the top 15 right now? I guess, they're trying to just make sure, they're trying to not, throw her in fights that she can't win. Because they're trying to build her up. That's for sure. So it kind of makes sense with what they're doing, but now that we've seen a couple wins, she beat Matzo easily. She beat JJ Aldrich pretty easily. Now she got this win pretty easily. That's 3 wins in a row. Let's go back to the top 15. We can do it now. Give her somebody better now. She can do it. And she deserves the chance at least. Oh, I skipped the wrong one. Main card now. This was Grant Dawson, Mark Madsen. I was really torn on this one. I told you guys that last time. I really could have gone either way on this, and I even put Madsen down as a potential bet, actually, because the odds seemed a bit ridiculous, because it's like this seems like a grappling matchup. Why would you not go with the Olympic wrestler in that scenario? Also, he was undefeated. Also, and we found this out later, so this was not on the broadcast last week, but I did write this down in the written version of the article that I post on Fridays, usually Thursdays, Fridays, somewhere around there, saying that Dawson missed weight by a couple of pounds. So it was kind of like, including that too, then you think, well, he missed weight. that usually means that the other person is going to do better as the fight goes on, because usually cardio ends up being a problem. So, I didn't think it was crazy to go with Madsen. That being said, I did end up, of course, picking Dawson, which is what I told you last time. I didn't switch. I don't switch my picks after a while, unless it's like egregiously bad on the weight cuts or something. That would be my only reason to switch, which has only happened one time, and that was with um, who was that? It was Priscilla Cachoeira, and she wasn't the one that missed weight though. It was her opponent. Anyway, we'll let that go. But yeah, anyway, so I did end up going with Dawson, but I wasn't really sure. I'm glad I did pick him though, because that is exactly he did end up, of course, winning the fight. And how did that go down? Well, first round, Madsen did open up pretty heavy, dropped Dawson with some bombs on the feet right away, and I was pretty worried right away. Because if the Olympic wrestler is dropping you right away with his strikes, this is going to be a long night. It's going to be a problem. That being said, after that, though, Dawson went into the grappling and amazingly actually took the Olympian down and took his back. Dawson was on Madsen's back for a couple of minutes straight, chipping away with some light shots, holding him there pretty easily, trying to go for the neck. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say rough start for Dawson. Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, rough start for Dawson, of course, on the feet, but he did obviously turn it around with that takedown, dominating him on the ground and getting actually quite a bit of damage. I mean, it's nothing that's going to finish the fight, but it adds up. There are a lot of chippy shots on the ground like there from the back, hooking around, getting some damage in. So pretty clearly, Dawson won that first round. Second round, Madsen, a lot slower to start. Seemed to be affected by that first round, getting kind of, pushed around a little bit on the ground there, especially considering, yes, he's got the wrestling cardio, of course, but he's also, what was it, 10 years older, I think, than Dawson. So already, you're grappling with somebody 10 years younger than you on the ground, and he's also getting the better of you. He took your back. That's going to affect the cardio, and that's exactly what happened. And then that let Dawson land a couple of nasty kicks, still obviously doing well with the grappling too. Then eventually took Madsen down again. And then he just completely smothered him for the rest of the round there. Again, obviously winning the second round. Third round, Dawson, lots of nasty calf kicks. You love to see those. And then also actually landed a couple of bombs to Madsen's chin. Ended up actually dropping him with a calf kick. Dropped him to the canvas with a calf kick. Then started to absolutely smash him on the ground. And then ended up taking his back. Finally got his arm under the chin of Madsen. It took him that long, the 3 rounds, to get it going. And then made him tap in the third round for the submission win for Grant Dawson over the Olympian. And for me, that was a pretty clear choice for a submission of the night, because, how often do you see an Olympic wrestler get submitted? It just, and especially considering he was undefeated going into this fight. So just all around, very, very impressive. I was very impressed with Dawson. And yes, submission of the night. But of course, we'll talk about the bonuses at the end. After that, Ulanbekov and Manis. I was actually kind of iffy going into this fight. I mean, it seems silly now that we know what happened with a first round submission, but I was actually pretty close on this one, because I mean, Manis, it was his first trip down to flyweight, so I mean, you knew he was going to be way bigger than Ulanbekov, but I just figured, well, the skill was definitely there. We saw Ulanbekov very good on the ground before this, and we also saw Manis kind of struggled with getting taken down by basically just a bigger version of Ulanbekov in Umar. That's who fought him last. He dominated him on the ground. So kind of figured this was going to happen again to Manis. Did not think it was going to be this quick, though, I got to say. Manus actually looking very good on the feet, but was quickly taken down by Tagir on his back right away. And he was actually landing some decent strikes from the bottom. He didn't look completely out of place. Let's just say that. But Manus got up, but was actually still stuck in a guillotine. And then Tagir just squeezed tighter and tighter until he tapped in the first round to that guillotine there. Like I definitely don't think that Manus should be down at 125. I don't care what he says. He weighed, you know what he weighed? Like you should actually look up this picture. It is crazy. I think I saw it on Twitter from Nate Manis. He weighed over 170 pounds. This fight was at flyweight. That's 125. He was 50 pounds heavier than the allowed weight on the night. How is that even possible? how did he even do that? That is crazy. That is crazy talk. Actually, I don't know if he was 170 during the fight, but the day after the fight he was, because then that's when he sent the picture of it. Unbelievable. 50 pounds. 50 pounds. I just can't even believe that that's even a thing. So I don't think he should be down at 125. Maybe he wants to. I don't know. But I just think when you're cutting that much weight, I think there's got to be some kind of issue in there. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not sold on that. As for Ulanbekov, though, I mean, he should have already. We discussed this last time. I mean, Tim Elliott cheated his way to beating Ulanbekov, which then basically pushed him out of the top 15. So he should be in the top 15. Actually, he might be in the top 15 now, but he should be getting somebody fighting in the top 15 to work his way up. I mean, he's clearly deserving of that. It seemed weird that this was even the right match. I mean, I guess because he had lost, it kind of made sense. The lost kind of made sense. But yeah, definitely somebody in the top 15 next time for Ulanbekov. Very, very talented. After that, it was Nordenbecky and Nordenbecca and Derek Minner. It's weird. Shailan Nordenbecca, I would say, is one of the weirder kind of fighters where it's like, going into it, I was like, I even said this last time too, actually. He has the potential to get all these finishes all the time. He's huge. He's aggressive. He's relentless. His cardio is unbreakable from what I've seen. So it's like, how is he not winning these fights like dominantly? How is he not getting finishes? And I'm pretty sure I straight up said that I was just confused as to how he's not getting finishes. And then what did he do this time? Absolutely destroyed Minner. And I mean, yeah, he clearly is a lot better than people think he is. And I'm glad that we saw that going into this. Shailan looked amazing on the feet early, backed Minner up, and then Minner did land a kick, somehow blew his own knee with the landed kick. So I mean, yeah, obviously it wasn't a completely clean necessarily performance by Nordenbecca, because of course then tainted by an injury, you know. But to be fair, I don't think it was really going to get a whole lot better in this case, because yeah, I don't think it was really all that close. But yeah, so blew his knee out, then got dropped by Shailan right away, and then just ground and pound until the ref stopped it. I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm really more just surprised that this is the first time he's won with a finish in the UFC like that, because he is so talented. He is very, very dangerous, very, very good. And yeah, I'm just surprised that we haven't seen this from him before. So I can't wait to see him again. That's honestly one of the most impressive Chinese prospects that we've seen in a while, because a couple of the other ones, they're kind of going downhill a little bit. I mean, we've seen Aori Chi-Lang, Sumu Darji, people like that. They're not doing as much as we thought they were going to do, which is too bad because they looked so promising at first, and then it's kind of like, they're having some good moments, having some bad moments, and maybe with Nordenbecke now, maybe we'll have another true Chinese contender here. That would be fantastic because this guy is an animal. Guy's an animal. And of course, we'll be talking about the best Chinese fighter, of course, Zhang Weili, later in the broadcast. Oh, I'm forgetting about Song Yadong, of course, too. Those I would say are really the only two that are really making waves still. Song Yadong, Zhang Weili, at least off the top of my head. Oh, no, yeah, Yan Xiaonan, of course. Co-main. I almost got confused because I forgot there were two Rodriguez's in a row. Co-main, D-Rod is how I should have been typing it, so I didn't get confused here. I knew this was going to be fairly close, and I mean, it made sense, especially on the odds. It was really close all week too. Both of them, I think it was flipping back and forth on some sites too. Usually within, either minus 110 or plus 110. Like they were all within that 120 to 110 kind of range the whole week for the most part. So we knew it was going to be close. That being said, I kind of thought Rodriguez's striking was gonna take it. So I had Rodriguez by decision for the prediction last week, if you remember that. So let's get into the fight. Rodriguez landed great early on the feet, stopped Magny in his tracks early. So already I was like, okay, well, I was right about the striking. It's definitely Rodriguez looking good. Then Magny was catching up to him a bit as he got in close. But Rodriguez was still, I would say, leading the action for a while. After getting clipped by a crisp jab, though, that's when Rodriguez started to kind of limit that output. And that let Magny get some more of his output going, which then was kind of starting to turn the tides a little bit. Magny then started to work in his clinch, his classic clinch, took Rodriguez down a couple of times, took his back. And with all that, kind of had to give Magny the first round on the cards there. Second round, Rodriguez came out strong. Again, he did this actually each round. He came out strong every single round. Landed heavy shots, backed him up. Then, once again, Magny pushed him into the fence. This time, he couldn't keep him there, though. And in an interesting switch, which, to be honest, was kind of a mistake, Rodriguez pushed Magny into the fence once as well. Yeah. But it was the stand-up, obviously, that was the bigger problem. So, and this actually ended up, I think, from what I remember, that actually is what ended up leading to the finish in the third round as well. But that being said, like I said, Rodriguez looked much better in the second round. So I think it was pretty clearly tied 1-1 up until that point. So all came down to the final round. The third round in a row, Rodriguez did open hard. This time actually dropped Magny on his back. So I was happy because then it was like, okay, well, that's a good way to start the third round when you're probably tied. From there, Rodriguez was on top, landing ground and pound, but then stood back up. I think that was, it's not a terrible idea when somebody's that good on the ground compared to you, but at the same time, you dropped him bad. You were doing ground and pound. You're on top of him. You have the dominant position. Maybe you should keep it. Maybe you should keep that position there. If you're against somebody that's a submission machine, then maybe get back up. But in this case, I think it actually was a huge mistake, and we kind of saw the consequences of that. Probably, not necessarily going to matter every single time. I'm not saying, oh, he should never stand up when you're in top position. No, I'm not saying that. But in this case, it ended up being his downfall because then Magny pushed him into the fence, and then that's how he won. He pushed him into the fence, got a submission locked in, and that was it. All because he stood up. If he wouldn't have stood up, probably wouldn't have happened. And then, I don't know, there's a pretty good chance that we would have been looking at D-Rod getting the win there if he would have just stayed on top. I don't know. Or even for another, basically until Magny starts really threatening the submissions. Because Magny never actually even threatened a submission to get him standing up. He kind of just was like, maybe I should be standing up. Maybe I shouldn't be down here like that. He never really locked in anything though. So I don't know. It's just not, just a lapse in the game plan there. Or maybe not even the game plan, just a lapse in IQ right there. I would say in the fighting IQ right there. But yeah, I don't know. It was close. It was close either way. Anyway, you can't be too mad about that. They're both pretty good, but I mean, this is kind of a similar. I mean, I wouldn't compare it directly to what we saw with Ferguson and Diaz, but it's kind of a similar vibe where it's like, yeah, they're good, but these new guys, they're just gonna eat them alive. They're just gonna absolutely destroy either one of these guys. So I don't really know. I mean, you're probably just going to end up seeing similar fights from them from now on. They're going to get older people, or they're going to get people, that are coming down, people that are coming up. They're going to get people like that because it just doesn't, they're just not good enough, I would say, anymore to be kind of challenging and going up the rankings. I hate to say that, especially considering, Neil Magny, he did get my most valuable fighter bonus. He also broke a couple of records today with that win. But yeah, not looking good in the future. And Magny actually called out Gilbert Burns. I mean, that's a good way to lose. I just don't even think that that's going to be even close. I'm a little surprised that he called him out, because I just can't imagine that fight even being remotely close. I mean, Burns is just going to walk right through him. Then we had the main event, but yeah, that's enough about those two. I don't have too much else to say about those two, really. Main event, other Rodriguez. This was Rodriguez instead of Rodriguez. The ladies going into it, I mean, I think the decision was pretty obvious. I mean, pretty clear, really, that probably should be picking Rodriguez, because she kind of should be probably fighting for the belt this week, really. I mean, that's kind of how it should have been set up, because it seemed weird that Wei Li was getting the title shot over Rose, well, I mean, obviously we didn't want to see that rematch. That was garbage. But, seeing Wei Li, I should say, over, well, either Rose or Rodriguez. I mean, Rodriguez made the most sense. Even Andrade or something like that. I mean, having Wei Li kind of didn't really make sense based on what we just saw. Anyway, we will be talking about that matchup later. As for this one, like I said, kind of had to pick the person who is pretty much the number one contender. But kind of went a little different than we thought, to say the least. Both were pretty slow to start. The first round was very slow, reminiscent of another fight that I just referenced. Both landed the occasional strike. Neither one was really committing. With a late takedown, though, and a couple of shots on the ground, Rodriguez clearly won the first round. I mean, nothing else really happened. And that is that fight IQ, that experience coming in, which is why we kind of figured she had the pretty clear advantage in this matchup in the first place. Second round, Rodriguez throwing a little bit more. Lemos then started to get going too, then took Rodriguez's back on the ground, locked in a pretty deep submission. It was looking pretty bad. I was pretty worried about that. And then Rodriguez actually did get out of the submission But, with all that control time and then the submission attempt and, I had to give Lemos the round on the card. So to me, tied up, I would say pretty obviously tied up 1-1 after two. Third round, Lemos started to land a couple of heavy shots, and that was kind of it. I mean, there wasn't ever really even a finish, if we're being honest. She made Rodriguez shell up quite a bit like that. She was getting hit. She was definitely wobbled. She was on wobbly legs there. And then the ref just stopped it. So I would say that was a very early stoppage. One of the earliest stoppages I've seen all year, actually, because again, I've said this before. I'm not really one to yell about early stoppages, but this one was, I mean, you got to admit, like, there's no way to deny that this one was definitely an early stoppage. That being said, I mean, was she going to get much better? Was she going to be able to recover? Maybe. We actually don't know. Like, I mean, normally when I say that, the answer is no, probably not. She was probably not going to recover. But in this case, honestly, I think she had a pretty good chance to recover. And I mean, yeah, she was definitely going to lose that round. I don't think there's any doubt about that. She was going to have a rough round. But I don't know. I still think she could have easily recovered from that. So, you don't want to see early stoppages like that. That's all. That's really it. I mean, it's. Uh, uh, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. There's so many things that can go wrong in these fights where it's like, oh, that shouldn't have happened. Like, let the fight continue. We want to see a real end. And Rodriguez said the same thing. She was like, why would you stop this fight? She even said it online later. Don't understand why you stopped it, but whatever. And I totally agree. That being said, regardless of that, Lemos clearly, the real deal. I mean, Rodriguez's only loss up until this point was against Carla Esparza in a majority decision, and that was it. So, I mean, for Lemos to come in there and not just win the fight, but actually finish her, even though it wasn't, I mean, let finish, but still to even get that far and to wobble her like that, we've never really seen that happen to Rodriguez. So, I'm very, very, very much impressed with that. I don't know if we're seeing a title shot next. I don't know. I mean, we could, but there's also, I mean, Rose is still there. Jessica Andrade is still there. She might be going back up to 125, though. We don't know. There's no announcement at all coming from Andrade. It's just complete silence from what I've seen so far. So we don't really know what's going on there. But we definitely obviously still have, oh, and then I mean, of course, we've got Grasso. We've got Yan Xiaonan, we've got Grasso, we've got Rose, and we've got Lemos now. I mean, we've always been saying this division is stacked. I mean, it is. So who's next? I don't know. Oh, actually, no, Grasso is right. That was in the other division. I think that was flyweight. Yeah, no, never mind. So we don't have that. But we do have, like I said, or is she? Was that 125? No. Oh man, I can't remember what Grasso fights at. Oh, I can't remember now. I can't remember what Grasso fights at, but we definitely do have a stacked division there. And there are a lot of people that have an argument to be the next title shot. So, I mean, I don't know how that works out really. And I mean, I guess it also kind of matters, obviously with what happens with the title. I mean, I think Weili's clearly going to win. But so then, what do we do from there? Because then, if you give Rose, you can't give Rose a chance. She beat Weili twice. You're going to give her a third opportunity, a third fight against Weili when she's already beaten her twice. Do you do that? or do you go with somebody else, somebody like Amanda Lemos, somebody like Andrade again? I don't know. So yeah, this division is definitely one of the weirder ones with the way that things are working out now. Yeah, anyway, so let's go to the bonuses. Tamires Vidal, like I said, got the KO, flying body shot TKO. Come on now. Sub of the night, Grant Dawson, submitting an Olympian. Come on. And then, of course, also breaking his undefeated record, too. Brawl of the night, to be honest, I mean, there was really only one fight. I'm not even kidding. There was really only one fight the entire night that I was like, yeah, this is pretty good, and it lasted long enough. And that was Hadley and Candelario. Because, I mean, you know, the main event, it kind of was, that first round was slow. Nothing happened in that first round. So already you can't give that fight of the night. And there were a lot of first round finishes other than that. And I mean, a lot of the other fights were kind of just, you know, or they just weren't really that close. It was one person dominating, and that's not a fun fight to watch necessarily. Whereas this one, it was back and forth. It was close. There was a lot of action, a lot of everything. So Hadley Candelario made sense to me. Most valuable fighter, Neil Magny. I said it. Well, actually, I had two this time. Neil Magny was the first one. I mean, broke two records, I guess, technically. You know, welterweight wins. He's got the most welterweight wins, and he's also got the most significant strikes at welterweight. And also, by the way, he got destroyed in his last fight. So for him to come back and do that for this one, that's amazing. And it was a tough fight too, but pushed through and actually even got a finish. And like I said, it was actually the first time that Rodriguez has ever been finished. Well, actually, for both Rodriguez's, it was the first time either one of those Rodriguez's got finished. So, which is actually why I gave a bonus to both of those people. Like I said, Neil Magny, and then I gave one to Amanda Lemos, because again, finished the huge favorite, by the way. Rodriguez was a pretty significant favorite in this one, who is also one of the best strikers in the division. So, I mean, you know, I don't really know what bigger of a statement you could make to put yourself in title picture like that, other than, of course, you know, getting a first round finish. That's the only other thing you could do that would be better than what she just did. So very impressed with both of them. So yeah, those were the two most valuable fighter bonuses this time. And we will take a short break. I might have to take a double break. I'm not sure. I have to do a couple of things. Oh, I just realized I can't. Oh no, we've got a problem here because I need to order my food, but I don't have the right phone up here to do that. So yeah, we might be taking a couple of breaks. I'm not sure, but we'll be back after this with the pay-per-view action. Where's my ad here? Whoops. See ya right after this.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly. Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say high stick vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say high stick vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly. Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly. Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
Okay, and we're back. Was trying to order my dinner. That was a huge problem. What a fiasco. Anyway, so back to now I've got my mic back. I was just ordering my food. It was a whole fiasco. Not a good situation. We're back now though. UFC 281. Get the odds ready and my banner ready. You know I love my banner. Okay, so huge card, MSG. We're back again at MSG. Amazing. I can't wait. I mean, any pay-per-view, any card that looks like this, it's going to be a good one. Main card opens up with Dan Hooker, Claudio Puelles. I gotta say, this is probably the closest one on the main card. Well, of course, except for the main event. Actually, no. What am I saying? Well, actually, no. I don't know. They're all pretty close, to be honest, except for Gutierrez and Zhang Wei Li. I would say those aren't really close. But yeah, this is a close one. That's what I'm trying to say. What are we going with here? Oh, yeah, Hooker. I mean, you know, he's been struggling a lot recently, obviously. I mean, you know, got finished by Arnold Allen really quick, got finished by Michael Chandler pretty quick. Did he lose another one? Oh, and then, you know, he lost that close fight with Dustin Poirier. And he got finished 3 times in the first round in 4 losses. In 4 fights, I should say. With then being broken up by the win over Hackprast. you know, and I'm not saying Hackprast is bad. He's good. He's good. But, is Hackprast up to that kind of standard? Is he as good as Claudio Puelles? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, to be honest, because I mean, they've got a similar style. And that's what we're going to be keeping in mind here, is that it is going to be similar to what Hackprast was trying to do. You're going to be seeing Puelles definitely try to push the grappling a lot and work in like that. I mean, he's got, I mean, it's not that I haven't seen this before. It's that nobody's really seen this before. 3 knee bars. Claudio Puelles has 3 knee bar finishes in the UFC, not just in MMA in general. In the UFC, he has 3 knee bar finishes, which if you've never really even heard of that's why. It's not really all that common. You don't normally see it happen. So for him to be able to do that 3 times, he's clearly pretty good on the ground. So, it is close because people are actually, I don't even think people are forgetting anything because Hooker actually is the favorite in this matchup. But you gotta kind of wonder why, really. I mean, Hooker's good, but he's kind of been struggling. He doesn't necessarily do that well with heavy grappling pressure if somebody can actually back it up. Because, I mean, we saw that with Islam. I mean, he ran straight through him. He took him down easily, then submitted him easily. He had no chance, really. And I mean, yeah, of course, it's Islam. He's been doing that to a lot of different people. But there are also a lot of people that held on quite a bit with Islam, and there was just absolutely no resistance whatsoever with Hooker. And yes, he was able to shut down Hackprast, but I just think that's because he wasn't necessarily at the same level. And the problem for Hooker in this situation is I think Puelles is at that level. Like I said, 3 knee bar finishes. He also dominated the guy that Patty just beat too. I'm forgetting the name, but the guy who likes to twerk, the Monkey King. Now I can't remember his real name. Jordan? Is it Jordan? Jordan. Oh, Jordan Levitt. Jordan Levitt. Okay, I got it. Yeah. So he also kind of dominated him too. So it's kind of like, this guy's the real deal in terms of the grappling. So I don't know. I think he's going to have a hard time. And, I think Hooker's going to do well, probably the first round, being able to shut down the takedowns, being able to strike, even though, again, Puelles is also good on the feet. But eventually, I do think that pace is going to get to him, and he's just not going to be able to get his offense going. That's kind of what I'm picturing happening. And then allowing Puelles to win on the cards. So I think there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to be disappointed when Hooker is probably going to be getting dominated in the grappling and lose. I wouldn't say a boring fight, but I think that's probably how it's going to be going a little bit, which is too bad. I love Hooker, so I kind of hope that he wins, even though that, as a fan, I hope he wins. As a bettor, obviously, I hope he loses, but that's just how it goes. After that, Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez. Now that I'm not getting frazzled, let's say, by delivery apps, good God, maybe I can relax a little bit and be able to get my thoughts out properly, because I think that was a bit choppy. Let's go back into it. Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez. Honestly, don't really think this is close. Oh my God. I didn't even do the odds. What am I doing? See, I told you I was frazzled. My goodness. So to the odds now, which is what we're here for. Oh, almost choked on myself. Hooker minus 158, Puelles plus 128. So it is pretty close. It is very, very close. They do have Hooker in there, and I understand, he has been in the top 15 for pretty much the whole last few years. He's really only lost to top contenders. I get it, but at the same time, that's a pretty big losing streak, and he hasn't really shown that he can grapple like that. We've never really seen that side of him. So I just think that's going to be a problem. And because of that, I mean, again, also you got to go with the person with the momentum. I mean, there's just so much here where it's like, even just statistics math wise, you usually want to go with the underdog in this scenario, especially when they've got so many favors, so many things going in their favor. So plus 128 for Puelles, it's definitely worth the risk on this one. Over under is at 2.5. I'm not really sure why it's under 2.5. I guess because Hooker's been finished so many times recently, but I just don't think that that's necessarily what's going to be happening in this matchup. I don't really think that either one of them is going to be getting a finish. I mean, Puelles maybe gets a fourth knee bar. I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, I just think it's a lot more likely that both of these guys are just a little bit too good to be finished by either one of them. So I think a decision makes a lot more sense in this case. And over 2.5 is actually plus money right now, plus 122. Makes sense to me. I mean, you got to also think too, he is mostly in decisions. The only times that he's really been in short fights recently is when he's been absolutely blown out of the water by Chandler, Islam, and Arnold Allen. That's it. Because Poirier was a decision. Haqparast was a decision. Puelles is really not a whole lot different from Haqparast. So I don't know. I think the over seems a lot better in this case. So plus 122, I'm liking the looks of it. Now we can move on to Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez. And I got to say, yes, lovable Frankie Edgar, of course. I don't know why the UFC is doing this to him, but I got to say, I think we're going to see another disgusting KO against Frankie Edgar. And it's going to be sad. It's going to be sad, folks. Chito Vera got the head kick straight up the middle, literally turned him into a meme I still see it. That happened like almost 2 years ago, and I still see it. And then after that, same thing with Sandhagen, flying knee, knocked out cold, turned into a statue. I've seen memes of that too. I mean, good God. The internet is doing Frankie Edgar dirty here, especially even the UFC, really giving him another guy who could very easily do the exact same thing. Because guess what? Gutierrez, also very much a kicker. And that's exactly who Edgar has lost to the last two fights, as somebody with a lot of kicks and knees. Sandhagen, lots of kicks and knees. Chito, lots of kicks and knees. Chris Gutierrez, lots of kicks and knees. So if you're seeing a trend here, yeah, there is one. And that would be that Gutierrez is more than likely going to get a finish here. I don't know if it's probably not going to be as spectacular of a finish as Chito and Sandhagen, because I don't think the Gutierrez is necessarily, I'm not saying he's not capable of it, but he's definitely not the kind of guy that's going to be doing, flying knee to the chin to turn Frankie Edgar into a statue, I don't think. But I do see a finish coming for Gutierrez. And even if he doesn't get the finish, I just can't really see this being all that close. I mean, Gutierrez is very underrated and is also an extremely, extremely talented striker. So I just can't see that going any other way. And the odds support that as well. Minus 225 for Gutierrez, plus 180 for Edgar. I mean, that's kind of, you're headed into the parlay range there for Gutierrez. And I think that's pretty fair. He will be in the parlays. The over-under is at 2.5 right now. Interestingly, it is at the over, which is minus 167. I don't know why that would be the case when we've just seen Frankie Edgar get knocked out twice in a row, especially when one of them was in the first round, and Gutierrez also has multiple KOs. I don't know why that would be the case that this is over, but it is. So we're going with the under on this one for sure, which is plus money, which is even better. Plus 128, under 2.5. I'm not saying it's guaranteed either one of those last two, but I mean, plus money for both of those. Hooker Puelles over, Gutierrez Edgar under. I mean, I'm not saying one of those is guaranteed to cash in, but I hope so. I mean, I wouldn't say it's all that crazy, and they're both plus money, so I'm liking it. After that, this to me is, I mean, I think to everybody, it's like, this is what we want to see. You know, I think we all kind of realize what's going to happen in the main event, and we'll get into that. But what I want to see, what everybody wants to see, Poirier, Chandler, put that on. I could watch, like, honestly, let them fight 14 times in a row, you know, or like, you know, I don't know. I could seriously watch that all night. I really could. I could watch Michael Chandler fight every fucking week, honestly. I mean, he's just crazy. So he might genuinely be, ooh, I don't know. I was going to say he might be my favorite fighter, but I think Suga's still my favorite. Michael Chandler, though, I got to say, he might be my second favorite fighter. Pretty close. Anyway, Poirier, Chandler, can't wait to watch. How is this going to go? I got to say, I think this is by far the most unpredictable, and I think you'd be lying to yourself if, I mean, I don't think you know necessarily what you're talking about. I don't know. I was going to say, I don't think you necessarily know what you're talking about if you don't think this is going to be close, because both of these guys are complete animals. And really, this is a repeat, essentially, of what we saw with Gaethje and Chandler. So they kind of wrote Chandler out of it there, too. And I don't think that was warranted. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember watching that fight, which, by the way, was at MSG last year, just like this one is. So, you know, this is basically a carbon copy of that fight. And in that fight, Chandler kind of almost won. I mean, he didn't knock him down, I don't, or maybe he did. I can't remember what happened. He definitely wobbled Gaethje quite a few times. And we just don't normally, I can't even remember I can't even remember the last time that's even happened to Gaethje, getting wobbled like that. So Chandler's got the power. Remember also, knocked out Hooker cold, like, you know, like pretty bad. It was a pretty rough knockout for Hooker there. Then, you know, he also dropped Charles, almost won the belt there. Like I said, then he also wobbled Gaethje pretty bad. What was his other? Did he have another matchup? Oh, and then, yeah, Tony Ferguson knocked out Tony Ferguson. The only person to knock out Tony Ferguson, knocked him out cold, put him full on to sleep with that kick. I mean, yeah, like, it's just like, I don't really know what people are seeing here. It's like, do you not think that Chandler has enough power? Like, what are you guys seeing? I just don't know why it would be headed in that direction when he's clearly got the power. And I mean, do I even need to remind you that Poirier has been dropped in pretty much every single fight that he's had the last couple of years? You know, I mean, obviously McGregor, you know, obviously he got wobbled pretty bad a couple of times there, which again, that supports what we're talking about here. But he also, you know, he had a similar thing with, no, I can't remember what happened before that. But yeah, I mean, he's been getting dropped a lot too. So it's kind of like, you know, he's not bulletproof, you know, like Poirier has been knocked out quite a few times. I mean, McGregor did it too, you know. I mean, yes, it was a long time ago. I'm not bringing it up just for the sake of bringing up McGregor, obviously. But it just goes to show you, yes, he can get knocked out. He has been finished before. Not that out of the question, really. And I mean, he's been knocked down quite a bit too. this is all really to say that I'm kind of actually leaning towards Chandler on this. I'm not saying Poirier hasn't been impressive, but we can't really say that the win against McGregor the last one was convincing, because it wasn't. He was losing. He was losing. He was getting hit pretty bad, and then McGregor just got obviously really fucking unlucky when Poirier blocked that kick and his shin or whatever snapped in half. That's just unlucky. What else can you say? Whereas Chandler, I don't know. Like, I think they're kind of playing too much into the fact that he beat McGregor twice in a row. Like, I just think they're putting way too much on that. And then you compare it to, like I said, what Chandler just did. He knocked out Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson out cold with a head kick. That's unreal to do that. And then, of course, like I said, knock down Gaethje, knock down Oliveira. He's gonna get a knockdown here. I would honestly be shocked if Chandler didn't get a knockdown in this fight. So to me, I think he is the way to go. And I'm not even saying he's going to get a KO finish. Yeah, I kind of do think he is going to get a KO finish, but even if he doesn't, where's Poirier going with this? He can't go on the ground. We haven't necessarily seen this from Chandler, but he's also one of the best wrestlers in the division too. We just don't normally see it because he loves to fight on the feet. But he is very, very good on the ground too. So I honestly think Chandler is the way to go with this. I really do. So yeah, I'm going with the underdog. And by the way, again, even if you don't believe me, even if you don't think Chandler, even if you don't think that that's going to be happening, whatever, even just think of it from this point of view. It's like, is it that, well, I'll get to my point when I say the odds here. Minus 220 for Poirier, plus 175 for Chandler. Does it seem that one-sided? Does Poirier deserve to be a minus 220 favorite in this scenario? I don't think so. So already, again, you kind of want to lean towards the underdog, especially, like I said, when Chandler's been knocking every single. He is actually, yeah, I think he has. He's knocked down every single UFC opponent he's had so far. Chandler has. That's a fact. Actually, I don't even know. Actually, no, maybe not. I don't know if he did actually knock Gaethje down technically, but did he wobble him really bad? Yeah. And did he take him down? Yeah. So it's like, like he will almost certainly get a knockdown in this fight. How does Poirier respond to that? I don't know. That's the question. To me, I'm going with the guy who I know is going to get a knockdown, and that's Chandler. That's the way I'm going with it. I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong way to go. I don't know. We'll see. But that's the way I'm going with it. Over under. That's interesting. Over under 1.5 right now. I guess again, because we know they're going to be throwing bombs at each other. Makes sense. The over 1.5 is minus 134. The under is plus 105. You got to go with the over on this one. Yeah, there were a couple of first round finishes in there, but honestly, I would say it's more likely to be in the second or the third round, because that really is where everything happens with both of these guys. They always seem to end in the second or the third round. So that's where I'm going with this one. And I could even see, like I said, a decision. Both of these guys are ridiculously tough. Gaethje and Chandler made it to a decision. If Gaethje and Chandler can make it to a decision, Chandler Poirier can make it to a decision for sure. So, even that's not out of the question. So I would say the clear way to go with that for sure would be the over 1.5 minus 134. But yeah, I'm going with Chandler though. I'm going with my buddy Chandler. Am I biased? I don't think so. Because like I said, I do keep bias out of all of this. Yeah, out of all of my picks. I've said that before. Again, maybe you don't believe me, but I really do. Just objectively speaking, Chandler, like I said, has knocked down every single person he's fought in the UFC, except for maybe Gaethje, which we discussed already. And he's gotten a couple of knockouts over people that you would not think he'd be getting knockouts over. By the way, who knocked out Hooker? Chandler. Who didn't knock out Hooker? Poirier. It's like, is there anything else really to say other than that even? Like, there's so many things where it's like Chandler can do, Chandler did this, but Poirier did that instead. And like, he couldn't knock out Hooker. Whereas, yeah, Chandler did it easily. I mean, he knocked him out cold. Like, there's just that's the difference for me, is that power and that finishing ability, that aggressiveness. I mean, Chandler is never going to stop moving forward. And I just don't know that Poirier can handle that. So, yeah, I'm going with my boy Chandler on this one. Ready to rake in that cash with a Chandler KO. Moving on to the first belt of the night, Carla Esparza, Zhang Weili. I don't even think this is remotely close. Like it's honestly crazy to me that this is what it's come to, because I mean, really, Rose, if she even moved forward a little bit, if she even had a little bit more of output, Rose would be the champ for sure right now, because every time that she tried to get any offense going, she was absolutely dominating Esparza. That's just what was happening. It's just Rose didn't do anything. That's literally it. She was just defending, didn't even decide to throw anything. And it wasn't even because she couldn't. She even said that herself. She could have. She just didn't do it because she didn't want to. It wasn't part of the game plan, which is baffling. Like, way to lose your title for the dumbest game plan in the history of fighting. Like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, it has to be probably the worst strategy that's ever been given to somebody in a title fight. Like, I literally cannot imagine having a worse strategy than that. And that is the only reason she lost this. On the other side, Zhang Weili, I would say, is very clearly, without a doubt, and there's no question about this, I really don't think so, she is the scariest finisher in the division. I don't even think that's a question, because the only person who even comes close would be Rose, and she doesn't really get a whole lot of a whole lot of finishes either. I mean, yeah, she gets some finishes, but she's more of a decision kind of person, as we saw against Esparza, because she probably could have easily gotten a finish there, but she didn't. Whereas Zhang Weili, not that kind of person. Not that kind of person. She is an absolute animal, will walk forward right away, and will probably get a first round finish. I'm saying that right now. I think she's going to get a first round finish. Maybe a second round. Maybe she can hang on for the second round. But honestly, I think we're looking at a first round KO. I don't even think it's going to be close. She is going to walk away with this very easily. Yeah. And there's no way in hell this is going to last 5 rounds. I would be shocked. I would be legitimately shocked. I would be blown away if Esparza can survive until the 5th round. Absolutely blown away. That is how, like, zoned in, like, that is how convinced I am that Weili is going to win this fight, because I just don't even think it's remotely close at all. Yeah, and I mean, really look no further than what Zhang Wei. Just look at Weili did in her last fight against Joanna. And look what she did in the fight before that against Joanna. Look what she did with Rose. She never stopped moving forward. And yeah, she had a little bit of problem on the ground there. I mean, not even actually really. I mean, it wasn't she, even though she was having problems. I wouldn't even say that. I mean, Rose is just really good. And I would say actually Rose is, like I said, clearly way better than Esparza. And a lot of people think that Zhang Weili beat Rose. So it's kind of like, you know, it's like there's absolutely nothing. There is not a single thing that is going towards Carla Esparza in this matchup. Also, do I even need to mention that Zhang Weili is definitely a lot younger than her too? There's also that. It's like there is literally nothing at all going towards Esparza in this matchup. I am confidently putting her in probably every single parlay I have, even though I don't normally do that. I do end up doing that when I'm 100% confident. Like Volkanovski, when Volkanovski fought Korean Zombie, let's say, that was another one. I was like, well, no, I'm putting all my money on that. There's no way. Like, it's just not going to win. Same thing here. I'm putting the money on Zhang Weili. There's no doubt in my mind she is going to win this fight. Over under is at 4.5. 4.5. 4.5 rounds, people. I just can't even believe that that's the case, that it's at 4.5 rounds. Go with the under. 100% put the money on the under. It's at minus 120 right now. So yeah, it is slightly favored. But the fact that it's even dead even right now at over under 4.5, that is crazy. That is crazy talk to me. Yeah. Yeah, no. I know I'm getting so heated and so excited, but it's like, she's going to get a finish. Like, I just don't see any other way this is going. Zhang Weili is going to get a finish this fight. I'm telling you right now. So that's how I'm going with it, obviously. The main event now. And, you know, there's really one of two ways, and we all know this. We've all discussed this. I mean, you know, we've been hearing this for, well, the past few months, but especially the last few weeks, of course, too. You know, I think we all kind of realize what's going to be happening here. Either Adesanya keeps his belt by winning a decision, or Pereira lands a huge left hook and knocks him out for a second time and steals the belt. There's really nothing in between. You know, I just don't think there's a whole lot in between. Can Adesanya get a KO? Maybe, but probably not. Can Pereira win by decision? No, that's not happening. I'm sorry. That's where I draw the line. That is not happening. But could Adesanya get a KO? Maybe, but probably not. You know, we're more than likely going to be seeing another decision from Adesanya. And really, you know, like I'm just firmly on that side where pretty much every other, you know, MMA analyst or whatever, somebody who's serious about MMA, you know, I'm on that side where it's like, this isn't kickboxing anymore. You know, like, I'm not saying that Pereira hasn't earned his title shot. He clearly has. Like, I'm not denying that at all. But what I am saying is, like, there's just a disconnect. Like, Pereira has not transitioned into a full MMA fighter, whereas Adesanya has. That's the difference. That's the only difference here. Because Adesanya can grapple. He can, you know, I would not be surprised. In fact, I would actually be surprised if Adesanya didn't go for takedowns. Because now he can. He doesn't have to ever worry about the left hook. You know, he doesn't ever have to worry about that if he's on the ground. Because guess what? Pereira is not going to finish him on the ground. Like, that's never going to happen. So, you know, it's just, you know, like, what do you do with that? You know, it's like, I don't even know what else to say about that. It's like, there's just, Adesanya is an MMA fighter now. Pereira, you know, he's transitioning. He's getting there. He's getting there in the MMA fighter realm, but he's just not there. He has not been in this sport long enough to catch up with where Adesanya is at. That's really the simple truth there. And not only that, it's like the fight IQ is just on a different level. And I mean, yes, we know Pereira's won twice. So, fight IQ, usually you would give that to the person who won the last 2 fights. But honestly, I don't. Because again, this is an MMA fight. This is not a kickboxing fight. And even then, it's kind of widely agreed actually that Adesanya is the smarter guy. He kind of just got a little bit reckless in the one where he was KO'd, and the other one was I think it was a split decision. So it ended up like and a lot of people feel like he got robbed in that one. So I think we all kind of realize Adesanya is also the smarter fighter. He actually, I think pretty clearly, if you've been paying attention, he's probably he's easily one of the smartest fighters in the entire UFC, in really the world of MMA. He is one of the smartest people. So fight IQ wise, the well-rounded skill set, I just don't see how you could pick against Adesanya. I just think it's the pretty clear way to go. Minus 220 right now. So I think a lot of other people are realizing that as well, that, the smarter way to go with it would be Adesanya. And yeah, would I put a couple bucks down on Pereira getting a KO just to kind of, just in case, just to offset, I guess, some of the losses from something else? Yeah, I'll probably put a few bucks down on Pereira getting a KO just in case. But the smarter money, the money for the parlays, the money, where you're going to be putting a lot more money, let's say, makes more sense for Adesanya. And again, how could you go against somebody who is undefeated at that weight class and has dominated every single person that he's ever fought in the weight class, except for Whitaker, who kind of think he won that one. But still, that aside, it just, everything is pointing towards Adesanya, except for the fact that Pereira has won the last 2 matchups between them. That's really all, that's the only wrench in this. If it weren't for that, we would just be saying, yeah, of course Adesanya is going to win this. What are you talking about? Like it just wouldn't even be a question. It's the only reason that people are even thinking that this is going to be close is because we've already seen Pereira win this matchup twice. That's the only reason this is close. Yeah. So anyway, that's how I'm going with it. Adesanya minus 220. Am I throwing it in a parlay? Yeah, I'll probably throw it in a few of the parlays because I would say that's one of the safer ones. Over under is at 4.5. So again, they're already heavily leaning towards Adesanya, which means they're already heavily leaning towards a decision as well at minus 134. So, again, it really depends on who you're picking here, because if you're picking Adesanya, you obviously go with the over 4.5. If you're picking Pereira, you obviously go with the under 4.5. So for that, really just matters who you think is going to win in that case. But yeah, the smarter money has to be on Adesanya for this one. That's it for the main card. I do have 3 parlays, 3 prelims that I am going to talk about before we call it a night. And that would be the ladies yet again, who I referenced earlier, Erin Blanchfield and Molly McCann. Hate to say this because I do like Molly McCann quite a bit. This is, I would say, the nightmare matchup. This would be a worst case scenario matchup for Molly McCann right now. A dominant grappler, somebody who has been able to quite easily take down every single person she's ever fought and keep them down. That is worst case scenario for Molly McCann. And I say that, I agree with what she said, because she was interviewed about the prospect. I don't know if it was Blanchfield directly or if it was even about Valentina, but I agree with what she said, is that yes, she is not a grappler, but it's going to be hard for a grappler to beat her because she refuses to be held down. She's very good at getting back up. She is very good at not getting taken down in the first place. So I will give her that. I will give her that. And I agree. I do agree. But this is a case of just relentless grappling. You're basically, I would say, what you're probably going to see is a female version of Merab Dvalishvili in this one, because Blanchfield is not going to stop going for takedowns, which means that Molly is not going to be able to strike, which means Blanchfield is probably going to win on the cards. I don't even think I like, maybe she can get a submission. I'm not doubting that Blanchfield can get a submission here. I'm really not. But I'm just going with even what we saw against Miranda Maverick. Blanchfield absolutely dominated Miranda Maverick on the ground, never got the submission because Miranda Maverick is also just that good. But she even managed to take down Miranda Maverick consistently, easily. So, and that's a really good grappler right there. So now with McCann, you're not a grappler and you're trying to stuff those takedowns. And then when she does take you down, you've got to get back up, which we know she's going to try and do. But when somebody's that good at keeping people down, I don't know. I just don't think she's going to get it done. But like I said, do I think she's going to get submitted? Maybe. But honestly, I do favor the decision in this, because I do believe Molly McCann and what she's saying, that she is a hard person to submit, take down, and just keep down. So I do agree with that. But like I said, we saw this with Aldo and Merab. We've seen this with other people too, but that was the most obvious one, where it was like Aldo literally cannot get his offense going. He cannot get anything going because he is constantly defending a takedown. And that is probably exactly what Blanchfield is going to be doing here. She's going to be threatening the takedown constantly, then forcing McCann to defend, which then leads to Blanchfield winning a decision. That's how I've got it. And I think that's pretty well reasoned, I would say, especially based on what we've seen. The odds very much in favor of Blanchfield, minus 434. I don't really think it deserves to be that one-sided. I don't think they're really giving McCann enough credit, because she is a very good striker. So, I mean, she is going to do some damage on the feet. I don't doubt that at all. But, in the long run, especially as the fight goes on, that takedown defense is going to be put to the limit. Let's just say that. Yeah. So definitely putting that in a parlay. The over-under on this one is over-under 2.5 rounds. And I think that's fair. Like I said, I'm not saying Blanchfield can't get a submission, but I actually do feel like McCann that she's a tough person to submit and keep down on the ground in the first place. So I actually agree. Over 2.5, minus 209. That's the way I'm going with it. Maybe throw that. Actually, I don't even know if I would throw that in a parlay, but I would put a few bucks down on it for sure. The under is at plus 162. So, if you don't think that takedown defense is going to hold up, or maybe you think McCann's going to get a shocker of a KO, plus 162 for under 2.5. Definitely not crazy. Especially since, like I said, Blanchfield can get a submission. So maybe the smarter money actually probably would be the under in this case. But, would I break the bank on it? No, probably not. Because I would say the safer way to go is the over. The smarter way in terms of making money, probably the under, just in the long run. Regression is what they call it. Okay, then we've got Dominic Reyes back again. Ryan Spann. I'm not actually, I was going to say I like Ryan Spann. I don't know. I don't really have any feelings about Ryan Spann, to be honest. He's just kind of there. Dominic Reyes, good God. I even wrote this down. I do not know if there's anybody other than Dan Hooker possibly who has had the biggest, fastest fall in the UFC, because he went from, I mean, let's be honest, basically beating John Jones to then getting knocked out in the most brutal way possible 2 fights in a row against Yuri and who else did it? Jan and Yuri both did it. Brutal knockouts for both of them. So to see him back there, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that he kept up with it and came back really, really going for it again here, especially now, because he really seems into it, really seems renewed again, to the point where, I mean, I even thought this anyway, he should be able to get a first round finish here. I mean, Span has been finished twice in the first round recently by people that I think are pretty clearly not quite as good as Reyes, including Johnny Walker and Anthony Smith. Do I think Johnny Walker is the same level as Dominic Reyes? No. I think Dominic Reyes outright is way, way better than Johnny Walker. So, if Johnny Walker can get a first round KO, I'm pretty sure Reyes can also get a first round KO. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And even if he doesn't get in the first round, I'd be a little surprised if he didn't get a finish in this fight. I really would be. So yeah, I'm going with Reyes on this one. Pretty easy choice for me. Minus 217 on this one. Plus 175 for Span. Do I throw it in a parlay? Probably. I'm probably throwing this in most of the parlays as well. Reyes minus 217. Over under. It's pretty much dead even right now, actually. Minus 109 for over 1.5. That's what it's at. And minus 118 for the under 1.5. Like I said, I think it's pretty likely that he's going to be getting a first round finish. So because of that, I would probably go with the minus 118, especially since it's pretty much dead even. But, I mean, second round finish, if it happens in the second half of the second round, you lose. That's tough when it gets to that point, which is why it's dead even right now. Because when you get to that point, it's like you're banking on him getting a first round finish, which is tough. So if you're going for that, maybe don't. Maybe go with the minus 109 for over 1.5. But I gotta say, it's looking really, really good for a first round finish for Reyes. So, and even Span, if Span gets a finish too, it's probably going to be in the first round or the first couple minutes of the second round. So I still think it makes more sense to go for the under, but it's really Better's choice on this one. That's how dead even it is. It's really that close. Then we got the final prelim of the night. That's actually the featured prelim too. Renato Moicano and Brad Riddell. And I gotta say, I am dead even on this one. I am exactly with the odds on this one. It is so dead even, especially with what we've seen from both of them recently. I have no idea what to believe. Because Riddell, even during the Fiziev fight, he looked incredible. He looked so good. And I was like, wow, we've really got somebody good here. Especially when he was, I would say, actually beating Fiziev at one point, which we haven't really seen all that much. So I was really, really impressed. And then he got knocked out by a wheel kick by Fiziev, and then got absolutely smoked in less than a minute by Jalen Turner. So, I mean, that kind of threw everything out of proportion for me. And on the other side, Moicano, he hasn't really had a statement win, but his loss to, well, actually, no, he's got some pretty good submission wins. But his loss to RDA actually is kind of what's convincing me to pick him now, because he actually got the better of RDA for a little bit. I mean, RDA clearly won the fight, and it was a dominant win for the most part. But there were some pretty good moments for Moicano there, especially when I think actually, yeah, Moicano ended up taking him down and out grappling him for a little bit, which is saying a lot. And I just don't think that Riddell has that kind of grappling. He's got the size advantage, he's got the striking advantage, but we saw him get submitted by Jalen Turner in less than a minute last time. And Moicano, he's a submission guy. He will never stop going for takedowns and looking for submissions. And well, actually, yeah, just like what we saw with Blanchfield, I think that's going to be a problem for Riddell. I really do, because Moicano will get those takedowns. And I just don't know if he can defend against Moicano, because Moicano has submitted some pretty impressive guys. He actually even submitted Alex Hernandez, who is very, very good. And he submitted him in the second round. He got another couple other second round submissions. The guy's good. The guy's good on the ground. I think, well, I mean, that's definitely what's going to make the difference. But that's the way I'm going with it on this one. I got to go with Moicano because of that ground threat, especially since we saw Riddell get submitted in less than a minute last time. Yes, Turner knocked him down. He was probably dazed, didn't expect to be guillotined like that. But Moicano, he's a whole other level on the ground. So if you couldn't defend against Turner, I mean, yes, he's a lot bigger too. Turner's way bigger. But, there's just a huge skill gap in that one spot. And on the feet, although Moicano isn't necessarily much of a striker, he did last all 5 rounds with RDA. So if you can go 5 rounds with RDA, you're probably fine to go 3 with a striker like Riddell, even in terms of just the striking part of it. So yeah, I think over the span of the 3 rounds, I think Moicano is either going to bank up enough of that control time and damage on the ground and all of that kind of stuff, or he's just going to get the submission. So I'm going with now I forgot the name, with Moicano on this one. And it's actually, I would say, more similar. It's actually pretty much the exact same scenario for Hooker and Puelles. I mean, really, Hooker is a bigger striker. Riddell is a bigger striker. Moicano is a much better submission artist. Puelles is a much better submission artist. They're basically the exact same matchup. So for both of these guys, I'm going to go with the same thing, which would be the ground guy. Usually that is what ends up winning anyway, is the ground game. So we'll see. But yeah, that's the way I'm going with it. And that is it for that. We'll go into the parlays here quickly, and then we will call it a night. Let's see here. I actually think Sungwoo Choi is a very, very good addition to the parlay. Minus 172 for him. Looking pretty good. I would definitely throw that in a couple of the parlays. Who after that? Otman Azaitar. How it's this close on the betting line, I have no idea. Azaitar has multiple first round knockouts. Frivola has been knocked out multiple times. Azaitar is also bigger. He's better. I just don't understand why this is all that close. Minus 132 for Azaitar. I'm even throwing that in a parlay probably. And then, of course, you've got the obvious ones. You've got Blanchfield. That's a pretty obvious parlay. Reyes, I would say, is a pretty obvious parlay. Gutierrez, fairly obvious parlay. Zhang Wei Li, the most obvious parlay of the night. And then Adesanya, another opportunity for a parlay. So there's a lot of good parlay opportunities here. But anyway, that is it for me. Hopefully we're getting some money this weekend. I'm really looking forward to watching it, especially the Poirier Chandler one. That is going to be really interesting. And of course, the main event as well. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing Zhang Weili get an amazing finish. Anyway, that's it for me. The link to the site is down below, Area 51. And of course, all my socials are down there as well. That would be Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. That's all down there. Thanks for, oh yeah, get rid of my banner. Get back to the outro. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.